All right, guys, we are back. The 2020-2021 season is upon us, and I'm very pleased to bring you the opening day preview for Manchester United. Our first fixture is not the opening day of the Premier League, but it's certainly the first game of the season for Manchester United as we take on Crystal Palace at Old Trafford. But before we get into all the stuff we're going to be talking about in today's preview, make sure you hit that like button as well and subscribe to the channel if you want more previews and more content like this throughout the season. We're going to be doing match previews, match reviews, match reaction, and potentially some different types of videos that people who've been watching this channel for a while might have seen on the channel. So we're going to try some different this year. And if you want to be on board the journey, please do feel free to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. And as you know, we do these live. So if you want to get involved in the live chat and interact with me, let me know your thoughts on anything I say or any questions you want to give me in the live chat. Or if you're watching as a video, put it in the comment section below as well. But thanks to everyone for joining who's already joined. Sifo and Man Like Mo, thanks for joining, guys. Really appreciate it. First game of the season for Manchester United against Crystal Palace at home. And we know it didn't go well for us last time we played Crystal Palace at home earlier in the season, last season. But this one feels different. I don't know why it feels a little bit different. I feel like there's been a lot of negativity off the field concerning Manchester United. But if you look at the team we have, we should be beating Crystal Palace. If you think last time we hadn't made the signing of Bruno Fernandes, which obviously has changed us so much, we've got Donny Van De Beek coming in as well. We'll be a lot stronger. We'll be a lot stronger. Obviously, the title is Donny's debut, question mark. Will it be Donny Van De Beek's debut for Manchester United as well? That's probably one of the most exciting prospects going into this game. And it could well be. It really could well be. But we'll have to wait and see, and we'll discuss that in the preview. I'll also be going through my predicted starting 11 and my score prediction as well. And make sure you guys leave your thoughts on that in the live chat. Few comments. What as I said, Sifo, thanks for joining. He says, Donny surely doesn't make your starting 11. Well, I think he's a decent enough player to make the starting 11. I think even though we brought him in realistically not to replace the likes of Pogba or Bruno Fernandes, I still think that Donny Van De Beek, especially against sides who don't offer as much going forward, he could definitely do a job in that kind of defensive midfield role. I think he could do a job. I think he's much more suited and much more comfortable playing in a more forward-thinking role in the position of Bruno Fernandes or Paul Pogba. But obviously, we're not going to replace those guys because those guys were pretty well one of the main reasons why we got to. The main reasons why we got to third in the table. You have to say that. You can't argue against that. Footy Live, Tom, mate, thanks for joining. He says, Kieran, mate, you up for doing a transfer update show in the next week or the final weeks of the transfer window for Manchester United? Of course I will, Tom. Of course I will, mate. And I'll definitely have you on. Because I do feel like even though the last few days has been a bit of a kick in the teeth for United fans in terms of transfer news, it's good to not be talking about transfers for once on a live stream, but I definitely will be getting back to that after this weekend's events. And of course, we've got a Carabao Cup game coming up on Tuesday, I believe. So it's all go at Manchester United. We're going to have a few previews and reviews in a row. So the content is coming back to the channel. I'm really looking forward to it. And hopefully you guys are looking forward to it as well. But I'll definitely do some more transfer videos because I do think there will be some more updates and developments in Manchester United's transfer window. Watch this space, guys. Dazza, thanks for joining. All right, lads, I'm doing well, Daz. Thanks for joining, mate. Really appreciate it. Make sure you check out Daz's football stand as well if you haven't already. Brilliant content on there. And as Manchester United season gets underway, you'll be able to check out his previews and reviews and match reactions to all of Manchester United's games. It was great to watch last season. I'm sure it'll be the same this season. So make sure you check out his channel if you haven't already. And Mo here is saying if we don't sign a centre-back and a right winger, we are screwed. By the way, as well, welcome Krishna. Thanks for joining. He's broken about the Reguilon deal. Yeah, both of you, I think, are definitely make valid points. I think if we don't bring in someone like a Jadon Sancho, if we don't bring in anyone towards the end of this window, I think a title challenge is pretty well off the table. I mean, in my opinion, maybe I'm being not as positive as I should be going into a season. But realistically, for me, I think a title challenge is off the table for Manchester United this year. I think, as we've said in previews and season previews and all that good stuff, the challenge for United this season and the expectation for United this season should be closing the gap on Manchester City and Liverpool at the top of the Premier League, because we finished third in the league, but we finished I think in the end it was only about 16 points behind Liverpool, or maybe it was about 30 points behind Liverpool. Actually, we finished, even though we finished third last season, 30 points behind Liverpool is a travesty, is an absolute travesty. So we need to focus on closing that gap. And yes, some people will say, we're Man United, we spent nearly 300 million if this Sancho deal comes through. We need to be challenged for the league every season. Well, of course, you're right. We don't want the standards to slip. But you have to look at it in context. And, Rome was not built in a day. Rome was not built in a day. You've got to keep progressing. You've got to keep going forward. And I think Solskjaer is showing a lot of signs that this team is going in the right direction. So I think we need to just keep progressing, and hopefully, the faster progression, the better. But I think we do need to be realistic about it. But hopefully we do progress, and hopefully we can close that gap this season. And I think if we do bring Sancho in, I think that will be enough to up our quality to close that gap. But if we play the way we did towards the end of last season, I think we will, because we actually still, since January, have not lost a Premier League game, which is a brilliant record to have going into a new season. A really strong record to have. If we pick up where we left off, we won't be leaving Old Trafford empty-handed tomorrow, which is the main thing. And realistically, we want to get off to a good start. Last season, we got off to an absolute flying start, a 4-0 victory against Chelsea. And I think a lot of people after that game got ahead of themselves a little bit, to be fair. And why not? Obviously, football's about, getting ahead of yourself and overreacting and living in the moment, of course. But I do think that after that 4-0, a lot of people are saying we're going to win the league, and we were one of the contenders. But Chelsea, in that game, it could have gone either way. And I think you really only find out about how good your team is when it gets to the Christmas fixtures. That's when you really find out how good your team is and what they're about, because you've got loads of fixtures in quick space of time. Usually, obviously, it's not great weather conditions. Usually, you have a few injuries by then. Your squad's mettle really gets tested at the Christmas point of the season. So, for me, I think that is where you know a lot more about your team. So, getting off to a good start is obviously great, and obviously, I'd much rather get off to a good start than not. But when we get to that Christmas period, I think is when we're going to really learn whether this squad is good enough to close that gap, or whether it isn't. But you have to get off to a good start, because if you don't, you end up having to do a lot of groundwork to get back to where we were. And that's what happened last season. We came third miraculously, really, considering the shocking start we had, which left us 3 points off the relegation zone. Madness, absolutely madness. Hopefully that doesn't happen again, fingers crossed. Few transfer messages coming in. Dazza says, I don't see Sancho being good in the Premier League, so if we don't get him, then I won't be too arsed. Yeah, obviously we had Dazza on to talk about Jadon Sancho as well on a previous show, and yeah, I remember you said that. I remember you saying actually Jadon Sancho's definitely not worth the £108 million price tag that Dortmund want for him. And to be honest with you, I think most United fans would agree that he's not worth that amount of money. However, realistically, we're not just investing in a player for one season. We're investing in hopefully the next 10, 11 seasons with Jadon Sancho there. So is that a worthwhile investment? Maybe it is. If we were to get Jadon Sancho for 1 year on that sort of money, no way, absolutely no way. So I think it's ultimately the reason why the money's so high is because of his age. He's got ability, there's no question. But if he was 29 with the ability he's got, we'd probably be looking at around maybe 40, 50 million pounds for him. But because he's still got another 10 years left in him potentially, I think that's why they bump up the price. And of course, Manchester United as well. We're Man United, of course, they're going to bump it up by 10, 20 million. Sifo says, love Woodward and Glazers single-handedly ruining Manchester United. Listen, we all know this. And obviously, coming from a rival fan, you're going to know, you can see from the outside, you can see it from a different perspective. You don't have the Manchester United tinted glasses on. Even rival fans can see what's going on to our club right now. And I'm not going to say I'm I'm not grateful for the signings they have made in the past. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes was a great sign they made. Hopefully, Donny Van De Beek as well will prove to be a really good signing. But there's no way that they're putting enough money into this club. There's no way they're putting enough money as they should do into this club. But if you look at, there's a chart that came out on Twitter. I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but it showed that the Glazers have taken out more money than any other club owners, any other owners of any other league club. £89 million was taken out of, no, more than that was taken out. At Manchester United, in terms of money taken out versus money spent, is down 89 million, which is more than any of the other clubs. Now, as I said, I'm not being ungrateful for the players that we have signed, because we have signed some great players. And in terms of just gross spend, we've spent a lot of money. But in terms of net spend, there's no way we've spent enough. Realistically, we had the managers we've had since Ferguson, even in Strikes Ferguson's era, have not been backed by the Glazers, and it's because they know that they can just sack a manager when they're not doing well, and the fan base will be happy, and we get a new manager in, the whole cycle continues. People need to wake up and realise that we can't just keep sacking managers and just saying, oh, I know they haven't been back properly, but they should be doing better. Because this cycle is going to keep going. It's going to keep going and keep going until they're out, until either they're out or they decide they're actually going to put more funds into the club and back managers properly. If they don't back managers, how can you expect them to get results, realistically? Sifo says, what ability does Sancho have? The reverse Elastico emergent. Whenever he plays for England, he's absolutely terrible. I did notice that in the last few games he played for England, he wasn't the best. I'm not sure whether that's just because his head's not in the right place or what, but who knows? I mean, listen, we haven't had a great track record of buying players from the Bundesliga, to be honest with you. But hopefully, there's always a first good one. You know what I mean? There's always one to break the mold, and hopefully Jadon Sancho can do that. Obviously, he's English, which makes it a little bit different because he knows what it's like to play in the English culture, live in the English culture, and play with the teammates he plays for England who also play for Manchester United. He'll have that connection. So obviously, Jadon Sancho is a bit different to someone like a Henry Mkhitaryan, but we'll have to wait and see. £108 million will be a price tag that will probably, rain hard on him. It'll be a bit of a weight on him. The most expensive transfer in Premier League history. So it'll be a very, very big weight on his shoulders, and it'll be interesting to see if we do get the deal done, whether he's going to be able to hold that. But we're going to talk a bit more about the game. Keep your comments coming in, guys. Really appreciate it. As I said, make sure you do leave a like and also subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. But we're going to talk about Crystal Palace for a little bit here. And Palace obviously started off their campaign with a 1-0 win against Southampton, and a fairly decent 1-0 win against Southampton as well. Southampton are no mugs; they're a decent side. So, listen, I think Crystal Palace, of course, are not a bad team. They obviously brought in Eze as well to come into them, and he looks a fantastic player. I'm not going to lie. I think that's a really bit of business from Crystal Palace. Someone they've been looking at for quite a while, it seems, and they've obviously brought him in. But I think he's a decent player. You can see already from the way he played against Southampton, putting defenders on his arse already. He's a great player. There's no doubt about that. You mix that in with the likes of Zaha. You've got Ayew up front, Townsend as well. Look, they've got some really strong attacking players. They've got a very exciting attacking lineup. Defensively is where I think we can exploit them. And with Manchester United last season especially, it showed that we were very much better at going on the counter-attack, taking the ball and soaking up pressure and then just hitting them with a clinical counter-attack. And when we were clinical, we would get the 3 points every single time. But the games we would often lose or draw would be games where we'd have the chances, but we just wouldn't finish, and then they would punish us up the other end. There weren't very many games. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there were many games last season where we were absolutely outclassed and we made no chances. I think there were a few games that spring to mind, but I can't think of many of them, to be honest with you, where in a game that we drew or lost, the other team just absolutely battered us and we couldn't get anywhere near their goal. There were definitely times in every single game we played where if we take the chance, we probably come out with a draw. at least a draw. So this is my frustration with Manchester United, is that we know that we're a decent side. We know that we've got good quality going forward. Defensively, we are prone to making errors, and I think Crystal Palace will know that. And also, they'll know that from set pieces, we are absolutely shocking. We really, really are. And I hope over this pre-season, even though it has been small, we have been working on that. But set pieces is a very, very good way to exploit Manchester United, even though we do have that height at the back. We just seem to always get ourselves caught out of position, or we always leave a man unmarked at the back post, like we did when we played Southampton at the end of last season. They scored that 97-minute winner. So this is my worry, to be honest with you, is the fact that defensively, actually, statistically, we kept more clean sheets than we did last season, and we conceded less goals than we did last season. But you can't deny that we've made so many defensive errors, including goalkeeping errors as well, which didn't help us. So that is the way that Crystal Palace realistically are probably going to look to exploit us. But they do have some good players as well. Wilfred Zaha, of course, being the main one. Eze as well, he's got a lot of quality. And they're going to look to hurt us going forward. But I think they'll probably look to counter-attack. They have that pace on the counter-attack. And I'm not sure how good we are against teams that do counter-attack, to be honest with you. But yeah, listen, it's going to be difficult. It is going to be difficult. But at the same time, we need to back ourselves to win the game. Realistically, we should win the game. I mean, it's Crystal Palace at home. We should be winning this game on paper. No disrespect to Crystal Palace, but there's no way you can tell me that I'm being arrogant or I'm being completely stupid when I say that Manchester United should beat Crystal Palace. They should do. And we obviously brought in Van De Beek, and we haven't really brought in anyone else. But even without Van De Beek, the squad is good enough to beat Crystal Palace. So for me, I think we will beat Crystal Palace, but I'll get into my prediction in just a second. But even though they do have that good, that quality going forward, they're going to cause us problems going forward. I think at the back, they are shaky. They're not exactly the strongest at the back. I think their run towards the end of last season was appalling. They were shocking them towards the end of last season. No doubt about that. They were terrible. So for me, come on. We should be beating Crystal Palace. But I think out of all the kind of bottom half of the table teams we could be playing, Crystal Palace are a difficult side. There's no doubt about that. They are a difficult side. We've had a comment. Thanks to Matthew Corder coming in. He says, Glazers in. Wow, that's not going to be popular, mate. That really isn't going to be popular. Yeah, that is an interesting opinion. That is interesting. I'm just going to move on from that, I think. Yeah, less said about that, the better. But obviously, it's your opinion. So we won't discriminate. Sifo says that door has a mind of its own. Yeah, mate, I know. I saw it in the background. I don't know what the hell that was. But anyway, we move on. Hopefully there's no ghost. Maybe it's the ghosts of last season against Palace. I know that's a dead joke. It's a dead joke. Let's move on. So yeah, talk about Manchester United now. We usually start by talking about the visiting team. We talk now about Manchester United, the main men, Solskjaer's men. And obviously after the negativity and the negativity in the pre-season about transfers and Mason Greenwood, Harry Maguire, all this stuff going on, I think it's really important for him to get off to a winning start. If we lose the first game of the season, the talks will continue. All the papers will continue to talk shy about Manchester United and just stir up shit. So for me, I think we need to get off to a winning start for him, and he'll know that. And I think he'll pick the strongest lineup available to him. Team news, Paul Pogba and Luke Shaw will be fit, I'm hearing, for the game, which is obviously a massive bonus. Luke Shaw in particular, because not only did our defence look poor without Luke Shaw in it, but Marcus Rashford's performances went down and were worse without Luke Shaw in the team, which is kind of weird because obviously you've got Luke Shaw giving him that overlapping run to help him out. But realistically, how does a left back affect your performance that much? But I digress. And Luke Shaw obviously coming back to the team is a good thing. We can have our full strength defence back. And I'm going to give you my predicted lineup. And you guys watching, if you are watching, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. But also, I'm going to give my predicted lineup going into the game. Make sure you give your predicted lineups as well in the live chat. I want to hear what your predicted lineups are. Mine is David De Gea in goal. I'm going to go with the same sort of formation. I'm going to put Luke Shaw, Lindelof, Maguire, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I don't think Solskjaer is going to try Eric Bailly in that position. And listen, I think Eric Bailly is a better player than Victor Lindelof. I think he's a better defender and a better partner beside Harry Maguire. We saw last season against Chelsea, and in that kind of run, Eric Bailly played 5 games after he came back from injury, and all 5 of those games were clean sheets. That can't be coincidence. It can't be a coincidence. So for me, I think even though I would prefer sitting next to Harry Maguire, I think you'll go with Victor Lindelof. It seems like he's happier and trusts Lindelof a lot more. And then I'm going to go with Wan-Bissaka, of course, on the right. And I am going to include Donny Van De Beek in that midfield. I think it's going to be Pogba, Fernandes, and Donny Van De Beek in that midfield 3. I think Van De Beek, of course, has played a bit more than the likes of Fred and McTominay. He's had those international games as well to prepare. And maybe that might be a factor in Solskjaer's choosing. Maybe he would go for someone like Matic or would go for a Fred, but they haven't really played too much since the season ended. So maybe in terms of match fitness, Donny Van De Beek is actually more match fit than them. So I'm going to put Donny Van De Beek in there. And I think especially because well, listen, obviously I've seen Sifo says there, no CDM, Palace are going to batter you. Listen, I think Van De Beek can do a job there. Van De Beek has been known to play in that position. And yes, maybe the Eredivisie isn't as strong as the Premier League. I mean, it definitely isn't as strong as the Premier League. But at the same time, Van De Beek is a resourceful player. He can do a job there. And also, if it does get to the point where we are struggling and Palace are having a lot of joy, we can then just change it up and we could even bring Van De Beek off if it was really going badly. But I think sometimes Van De Beek does get underestimated for what he can do. I think he's a very versatile midfielder, and that's why I think actually bringing Van De Beek to the club was a very clever signing from Solskjaer in terms of squad depth, not just the quality that he brings, but the squad depth he brings as well. Because he can play in a 10, an 8, and a 6 as well. So I think Van De Beek can do that role, and especially against Crystal Palace, I don't think it'd be the worst thing. As I said, though, this is a predicted 11. This is not my personal choice. This is a predicted 11 of what I think Solskjaer is going to do. I think I'm kind of siding a little bit with Sifo here that Matic might be a better option than someone like a Van De Beek. But I think in terms of who I'm predicting, Solskjaer might just put Van De Beek in there to give the fans something to shout about and give Van De Beek a run out as well at Old Trafford. So I'm predicting that Van De Beek's going to be in there, but it's not my personal preference. The front 3 picks itself really. Rashford on the left, Martial up front with Mason Greenwood on the right-hand side. And they've got a lot to prove. They really do. A lot of people are hyping them up after the finish of the season they had. I'm hoping Martial and Rashford can both hit that 25-goal a season mark this year. I think they both got the quality to do it, and I'm hoping they can. I really am, because if we can have both those guys hitting 25 goals a season, Greenwood potentially getting 20 goals as well, that's 70 goals from the front 3 alone. So if we can get that, we're definitely going in the right direction. And also for their careers as well individually, we need them to continue to improve and go in the right direction as well. So that's my prediction for the game. Henderson or De Gea is also a little bit of a debate. And you know what? He might throw Henderson in there. He could easily throw Henderson in there. But David De Gea, I still think, is probably his first choice goalkeeper. We saw last season, even when he was making those mistakes, he was still very much favouring De Gea and supporting him, as a good manager should do, even when his keeper isn't doing well. And I think bringing Dean Henderson in is merely competition. I think Dean Henderson will play games for us this season, no doubt about that. But I do think David De Gea is still the number 1. But if you disagree with me and think that Dean Henderson should be number 1, please let me know in the live chat or the comment section down below as well. Sifo says, fair enough. Yeah, listen. I see where you're coming from. I think Van De Beek, in terms of physicality, wouldn't be the best central defensive midfielder, because, as we've seen, the best CDMs in the Premier League are always fighters. They're always people who are willing to do a job. You've got Fabinho or Henderson for Liverpool. You've got Matic for Manchester United, Xhaka for Arsenal. These sort of guys who have a bit of grit and fight about them and physicality to the best of their ability are usually the best CDMs. CDMs that don't really work out too much are ones which are kind of weaker. Like they're good on the ball, but realistically, when an opposition offense is running at them, they can't do much to stop them. They're not going to do the dirty fouls. They're not going to do the dirty work, if you know what I mean. So I think in terms of a CDM, of course, you'd want someone like Matic there more than you want Van de Beek. But I think Solskjaer could throw him in. Solskjaer could definitely throw him in. He also says, I hate Greenwood, but I think he's your standout player this season. If by some miracle you get Sancho, I'm pretty sure Greenwood will bench Rashford. Yeah, I think a lot of people actually have been talking about that. It's been another debate really being had in the Man United community, whether Greenwood would come in for, whether Sancho would bench Greenwood or whether he'd bench Rashford. I think a lot of people agree with what you're saying, Sifo. I think a lot of people think that he will be benching Marcus Rashford unless Rashford picks up his performance. I think we'll see at the start of this season who's performing the better, because I don't think we're going to get Sancho before October. So in these first few games, we'll see the likes of Rashford and Greenwood go at it, and we'll see which one of them is going to be the one that will make way for any incomings. I think that's probably how it's going to work out. Solskjaer might trust Rashford more just because he's got 3 or 4 years on Mason Greenwood, so he might trust Marcus Rashford more, but we'll have to wait and see. I think Greenwood, the way he was playing at the end of last season, I mean, if he played like that all season and he had as much game time as he did all season, I mean, he would have scored 30, 35 goals, which for an 18-year-old is ridiculous. So I'm hoping that he can continue that form this season. If he does, alongside Martial and Rashford, we could have a very, very high-scoring front three, and probably we could secure top 4 if we had that sort of front three. And we've needed this for ages. We really, really have. In the last few seasons, we haven't had a strong front three, and this season, it looks like we've got a very, very good front three. Jadon Sancho potentially coming in as well. Jack Wall, thanks for joining, mate. Appreciate it, Jack. Guys, as well, make sure you check out his podcast. Feel free to link it in the live chat, mate. Feel free to link it. But, mate, long time no see. Thanks for joining the stream, mate. As always appreciate it. If you ever want to come on, mate, please do feel free to hit me up and let me know, and we can sort something out. Love hearing from you. So yeah, cheers for coming on. And as I said, if you want to plug anything, mate, please do feel free to do so. So yeah, thanks for coming. And he says Martial to get off to a quick start this season. I think Martial will be hungry. I think obviously by the way he finished last season, he did prove a lot of the doubters wrong, but he has to do it for a full season, I think, and he'll be hungry. He knows that he's coming towards the prime years of his career. He's 24, he's going to be 25 by the end of this season. He's someone who knows that obviously footballing careers, don't go on forever. And he's still got a decent amount of time, but he knows that he's not some young 20, 21-year-old anymore. He's 24, 25, and he's hungry. He's hungry for titles. He wants to do well. He wants to show people up. And he's got the ability. I think actually last season we did see an improvement. I think he was a lot more consistent than he was in previous seasons. But if Martial can be as consistent as he was towards the end of the last season for a whole season, we're in business, baby. We're in business. We are in absolute business. Alongside Rashford and Greenwood, I should say. If those three can get it going early on and can continue that throughout the season, then we could have a system where, if Rashford doesn't get you, Greenwood will. If both of those don't get you, Martial will. And that'll be very, very difficult for opposition to set up against. When you see in that documentary, Jose Mourinho doing the tactical briefing, he'll say, listen, about 6 of their players are could score at any point. 6 of those players, you've got Pogba and Bruno Fernandes to add to that as well. Donny Van De Beek is potentially. So opposition managers are going to find it difficult. They really, really are. To defend against us, but it's all about consistency for me. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful they can do the job, and that's why I'm really looking forward to the start of the season. I really, really am. I think that this team has got a point to prove. A lot of people writing them off, saying that we're probably not going to get top 4 now, especially that Sancho doesn't look likely. But this team, you can't forget that this team hasn't lost a Premier League game since January. There's a reason why we finished 3rd last season. This team, with Bruno Fernandes in it, is a different animal to the one without, that started last season. So I'm hopeful in that way. I am hopeful. But I'm going to give you my match prediction, my score prediction now, and then we'll probably leave it there for today. I'm going to give you my score prediction. If you want to give your score predictions, feel free to do so in the live chat and also the comment section down below. Make sure you do leave your thoughts on anything I've said as well, not just the score prediction in the comment section. But my score prediction for the game, I'm going to go with a 2-0 win to Manchester United. I don't think it'll be a vintage Manchester United performance. I don't think we'll be 100% fit, but I think it'll be a 2-0 win to Manchester United. I think Rashford will score his first goal for Manchester United this season, and I think Bruno Fernandes as well from the penalty spot for Manchester United. I would just love that. It'd just be beautiful. Beautiful scenes if that happens. But I'm going to go Rashford and Fernandes to score their first goals of the season. A 2-0 win for Manchester United. Not vintage, but we get the job done. Jack here says, thoughts on Spurs, Chelsea, Liverpool and Arsenal all getting exciting news, whether it's a contract or new signing, whereas we're getting no transfers. It's frustrating, Jack. I have to say it's frustrating. As a United fan, as we all know here, it is frustrating when you see rivals around you not doing loads of business. Getting excitement and also seemingly taking deals that were there for us out of our hands. It seems like, with the Bale stuff, with the Reguilon, and you've got Thiago as well now, we're seeing deals which were there for us to do, but because we faffed around and just, messed about, and other clubs were like, you know what, let's do it. And they just got the deal done within a few days, no nonsense. Whether we're dithering about, should we pay the money, should we not? Is he going to fit the team, whatever? And I do agree with the fact that we need to be more cautious than we were in the past because we don't want anything like Di Maria happening again. But I do think that it's really frustrating, especially when you see other teams around you who last season we were able to beat for third spot. Chelsea we beat for third spot. Arsenal obviously were really poor last season, but are starting to look decent now with the signing of Gabriel. You've got Saliba coming in. And you've got that centre-back. Can't remember his name. It'll come back to me. No, what's that Saliba? I don't know. But anyway, you have all these guys strengthening. And don't forget, our goal for this season is to close the gap on those very teams. If we're not signing players and they're signing players, you have to feel that we're being left behind, which is obviously not a great thing to think. It's not a great thing to feel. So, yeah, it's obviously frustrating. It really, really is. I would say be patient, but obviously there's not a lot of time left to be patient, to be honest with you. And I just think that in terms of the Sancho deal, if we knew we weren't going to pay the money, then why did we not dump him off? But like ages ago, because surely we would have known ages ago whether this deal or not. And if we did, then why did we not get the deal done in whatever shape or form, whether we didn't do it or we did? Why didn't we just do it and get on with the next signing? Because the longer you leave this deal, the more chance of a late bid coming in and then they say no. Why do they say no? If they say no, we're fucked. I'm going to be honest, we're fucked. Who are we bringing in? If on deadline day we bid for him and then nothing happens? So anyway, that's my thoughts. Sifo says Bruno penalty 100%. Jack goes 4-0. Martial with 2, Greenwood and Fernandes. I'd take that all day long. But guys, I'm going to end it there. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. As I said, please leave a like if you aren't already. Subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. If you're watching the video and you've got this far, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Leave that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. What your thoughts are going into the season. Are you hopeful? Are you doubtful? Are you worried? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. But guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And I'll see you after tomorrow's game. And you know what? I was so looking forward to saying that. So looking forward to saying that. But anyway, thanks for watching. Football's back for United. And hopefully we start well tomorrow. And I'll see you in the next one.